Whew. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? How are you guys doing this evening? Whew. I tell you, I honestly just got home, and I'm telling you, it really feels like I'm being followed by something I have no idea what it is. I'm hearing strange noises in the middle of the night. People are giving me some weird stares. I'm hearing some weird stuff. I'm telling you. Am I the only person who's hearing that? And by the way, wasn't one of my animatronics there? Okay, so before I die, how about I go on ahead and tell you about the movie known as It Follows. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the next episode of Cinetober. This is my review for the horror movie called It Follows. Now, I have heard about this movie for a long time, and I've been wanting to watch it, but I never really got the opportunity to. When I watched it, I was like, oh, it's about this, it's a really weird movie. But actually, this is a really good horror movie, but it's not to the fact like where it's scary. It does have some intense moments, but this movie actually does have a lot of callbacks to old horror films, and it even has tributes to old horror tropes. So basically give you a rundown of the plot without giving really away any spoilers. There's this, I guess, like disease or this thing that is transmitted from one person to another when someone has sex. And when the main character of the movie, Jay, gets the disease transmitted to her, she is trying to figure out what to do to either get rid of it or kill it. And by getting rid of it, either passing it on to someone else. And this movie does have a very creepy feel of you feel like you're being watched by somebody. You feel like you're being stalked. So there's actually a scene that's a callback to the original Halloween. If any of you have ever seen this, or if any of you who have not, there is a scene in the original Halloween where Laurie is sitting in her classroom. She's listening to a lecture, and she turns around and she sees Michael staring at her, and then she turns back, and then he's gone. Well, in this, no, with this, Jay's just sitting in her class. She's listening to a boring lecture. She turns and she sees this old woman slowly walking towards her. And that's the thing. It's like Michael Myers. It walks. And this also kind of gives you a feel of you don't know who to trust. So it can be anybody. It can be someone you know. It can be someone that you don't know. It can just be somebody who's just walking very slowly to you. And the fact of the matter is that this movie plays on the fact that you don't know if the person behind the main characters is a regular person or if it is the creature itself. And there actually is dialogue where they're like, hey, do you see that person? They're like, yeah. And it's like, it really makes you wonder, is the main character going crazy or if this is really happening. This makes me think of also the movie The Babadook. Now, The Babadook was horrifying. It was a very good horror movie. It was really intense, and you honestly don't know in that movie if what is going on is real or if it's in the mind of our main character. And the same with this. Sometimes the movie plays it off like you have no idea if what is happening is real or if it is not. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, the acting in this movie is very good, although there are some of the dialogue I feel like wasn't portrayed as good as it should have been. But other than that, this movie is fine. Now, it's not scary, but it does have some intense moments involving with the creature and with the ending. And this movie is one of those movies that makes you actually think. It doesn't spoon feed you. And when I say it gives you tributes to old horror movie tropes, barely thought this movie, there's barely any adults. If they are, they're just they're basically kind of like just the background. They're basically just objects, kind of. You barely ever see the mom is barely ever mentioned. That there's nothing about the dad that's ever mentioned. You see like a couple people who are like, the adults aren't just there, and that was a trope in the old horror movies back like in the 80s and the 90s when the adults weren't ever really around while these kids were on their own. And the fact of the matter is, this movie does make you feel like you were on your own, you were isolated. It makes me feel like I'm playing Alien frickin' Isolation. Just with no alien. And this movie also takes away your safe place. So one of the main aspects of the movie is Jay's safe place is water. So there's like a couple scenes in the movie where she's in her pool all the time. That's her safe place. She feels safe. She feels like nothing can harm her. And in this movie, that place gets ruined. It gets her safe place gets taken. It gets destroyed. And so when this happens, you really feel for Jay and her friends, especially some of her friends do believe what's going on, and some of them are just being there for her to help her. Even though some of them don't believe until later on in the film, when what they do at the end ends up basically kind of showing what happens or seeing it. And the ending of the movie makes you wonder if it is still alive or not. Now, this movie does have some creepy images with, like, people who portrayed the creature whenever they were walking slowly, because once again, as I said earlier, it's like Halloween. You're being stalked, and you don't know what's stalking you, and you don't know if who's stalking you is just a regular person or if it is the creature itself. Now, there are some jump scares, but they're actually not too bad of jump scares. They're actually, like, there's like a few, but they're nothing really that harmful. This movie was really enjoyable to watch, and it did get slow at some points, but overall, It Follows was a good, fun horror movie to watch. It's one of those movies that we don't get very much nowadays. We're so used to having horror movies spoon-feed us. This is a movie that I strongly advise you watch, because this movie will make you think, and this movie is actually a lot smarter than it lays on, and that is why I suggest you go watch it. I'm going to give It Follows a B+. Now, I'm telling you guys, one of my animatronics has gone missing, and I'm pretty sure I know which one it is. Well, since I don't have any of the guns that I was thinking I was going to get, I still got my good old girl Lucille here. We're going to go take care of some business. I will see you guys in the next episode of Cinetober. Stay safe. Make sure no one's following you. Get yourself a gun, because we got some business to do. All right, Foxy, where are you?